This is one of the favorite shots I've ever captured. And it's not because it's technically perfect, but it's because of what it represents for me as a filmmaker and for these kids as they run through the forest.
Did you get it?
It's a sweet shot. Let me set up where I was at and what was going on to be able to capture this shot. So I was in India working on a project for my nonprofit Sown. And basically what Sown does is it gives films to other nonprofits around the world for free. We partner with different nonprofits or NGOs that need a film made to help tell a story that's going to help have an impact. So with this specific video, we were working with an organization in India, and this organization takes care of families and orphan children in their community. And the film that we were specifically working on was diving into the story of these 27 families that live on the edge of a landfill. And so me and my partner Jake were in India for 5 days to capture this story, and this shot of the kids running through the forest was one of these moments that became such a pivotal scene within this short documentary that we are creating. And that's because of what it represents for these kids. And the journey to get to this moment where we're capturing this shot was absolutely chaos. And so this little moment became just this little sacred pocket of peace where everything was just aligned and we're able to capture some pretty incredible footage. Now, oftentimes when creating a documentary about a bigger problem in the world, you want to focus in on the singular, an individual person, or in this case, a family. And so we were working with Apayama and her kids, and this family was one of the families that was living on the edge of this landfill. And basically through her story, we're able to see the bigger picture of what's happening in this community. And ultimately, the film is used by the nonprofit to be able to generate more funding to be able to help these communities. And that's the goal with all of the Sown projects that we create. We try to partner with other nonprofits that have a specific goal in mind. And the story can help push the organization to being successful with fundraising for these goals. Now, to get to this specific moment in the forest, there was a lot of things that had to happen. So we were filming for a few days in India. We were more in the city. However, we did have this moment where we were able to go to the beach. Now, for us, the beach wasn't very close. So we had to take a 2-hour drive. And for anyone who's traveled to India, you know how hard it is to travel on roads, especially long distance. It was complete chaos. There was cows in the road. There were cars going every which direction. There's motorbikes weaving in and out. And for 2 hours, we were with this driver who's just weaving back and forth, back and forth. So just to start the day, we had the most chaotic experience just on the road every few minutes thinking that, we're about to hit something, like either it's a semi-truck coming head on or it's a cow that's just standing there in the middle of the road. And it was just the craziest experience to even get to the beach. Something we found out later in that day when we arrived is that it was a holiday. So not only was the drive there chaotic, but when we got to the beach, there was just thousands of people in every direction. And when me and Jake arrived with the other members of the nonprofit that we were working with, we stuck out like a sore thumb.
So we went to the beach and we found out that it's actually a Hindu festival. So we're right in the middle of absolute chaos. But it's kind of great.
And in this part of India, there's not tourism. It's pretty much all locals and us.
This is super overwhelming because every time we stop, just a big crowd forms. Everyone wants to take a photo with us. And it's a little much.
And we're trying to say no out of the desire to mitigate the amount of people that then go, oh, let's all take photos. So you feel bad, but you're like, sorry. And then there's certain people that are really pushy, no, take a photo with me.
Yeah, it's you definitely have to say no, just because the more people that crowd, the bigger the crowd kind of starts accumulating, and it's we've just started moving to try and get out of just circling up, trying to find some open space.
And so we just kept walking, and we had a whole group of people behind us following us wherever we went. But we finally found this trail that kind of like veered off away from the beach a little bit. And we got this moment where there was no one around us. There were some people like off in the trees watching what we were doing. But we had all of the kids gathered, and we're trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to represent this moment, this kind of like feeling that we're trying to capture with this shot. And oftentimes using kids and running gives you that kind of sense of freedom. It was this element of joy where the kids can just be kids and they don't have to worry about anything else. And we thought this would be such a good moment to capture for the film. So the stage is set. We finally have a patch of forest. We got these beautiful palm trees. It's green, it's lush. It's a little bit calm so we can create the shot. And so now comes the technical side of how to actually capture a good shot. We wanted to use the gimbal for this to really float the camera through the scene. And working with a gimbal stabilizes your shot in 3-axis. And the gear that I was using to capture this was the A7S III, the old Zeiss 50mm f1.4, and I was using the DJI RS3 gimbal. And the reason that we chose a 50mm is because it gives you that ability to really isolate your subject. You can create a lot of focus in that specific moment, and when you're using a gimbal and moving, you can create a lot of depth and parallax. And so we tried this shot a few ways. At first, we ran with the kids, kind of behind them, kind of following them through the forest. We also tried having them run at us and running backwards, but those shots just weren't looking right. We were looking through our viewfinder and looking at the shots. I was like, yeah, it gets what we're going for, but it's not exactly the kind of shot that we really wanted for this moment. And so that's when we tried the side shot. And so running sideways, keeping the gimbal low to the ground, I started running with the gimbal, and then Jake told the kids to start running, and they took off running, and they paced themselves faster than me, so they came into the shot and then ran out of the shot. And this became such a cool moment because everything kind of weaved together and was perfectly matched for the singular moment that we could capture. I had the gimbal moving as a dolly shot through the forest, and you get so much parallax with these different layers of trees, the ones in front, the ones behind, the ones way off in the distance. And then you have the kids running into the frame, and they're moving at a different pace than the camera is. And that way you're creating two different planes of motion, and the kids moving through that space. So not only are you getting this kind of floaty feeling as you're running through the forest, but also you're getting a lot of sense of movement. And then you see the kids just having a great time, just being kids, just being out there running. Now, technically, the shot's not perfect. So here's the shot raw straight out of camera. This is uncolor graded, unstabilized, not slowed down. But when we were shooting this, I shot at 60 frames per second. And the reason that I chose 60 over 120, because oftentimes when working with people, it's better to shoot at 50 or 60 frames per second and slow it down half speed versus shooting at 120 and having even slower footage. It almost becomes too slow when you shoot at 120 frames per second. And you really want to reserve that for moments that you really want this like dreamy quality to the footage, like almost unreal feeling. And oftentimes when you're working with people, you want that sense of slow. You want to have that sense of grandeur, and you want to have that sense of epicness using the slow motion, but you don't need it to push it that full 120 frames per second, super buttery slow. And so I find that 50, 60 frames per second is a great spot to shoot these kind of shots when you're working with people. And for this specific shot, you get that sense of peace and calmness with all of this motion going on.
That's gonna be so good to kill too.
After all this chaos, it's been like, we finally got some good footage.
Look at this sky behind us.
Look how sweaty
Beautiful.
I am. I'm drenched running through the...
It started as like a very much a bust day. Like the day was a bust, and then we walked away with some of the best shots of the whole trip.
Now I just want to like take a step back, because sometimes when we talk about filmmaking, we talk about a shot because it technically just like looks really cool, and we're really excited for that moment that we captured. But in a moment like this, it's more being there as a spectator and having the opportunity to witness something real. Like a shot like this isn't made, it's found. And that's why this shot stands out to me so much, because it's in that moment when I'm sitting there in that hot, humid forest, just dripping sweat, looking through the viewfinder at this shot of these kids running through the forest, I realized something. This is that something that I've been looking for as a filmmaker. This is something that like I need to be doing. I always felt like there was something missing. Like I always felt like I wanted to do more with these skills that I've created Working in the industry for years in Los Angeles, making adventure videos, just playing with cameras, creating this YouTube channel, creating other YouTube channels, there's always been something more. Like, what can I do with all of this that I've created? And that's in that moment, I really felt that sense of, this is it. I can use my camera to be able to capture these moments that could be used to actually make an impact. And to get to this moment, it really took me stepping out of my comfort zone and saying yes to so many things that just stacked on top of each other until I'm on a plane to India, getting in a car, weaving around cows on the highway to get to this scene where we're filming with these kids and be able to capture this awesome shot. For me, it became a moment of clarity. And so over the years, there's tons of beautiful shots that I've captured. I've had the privilege to be able to go out to some pretty epic locations, but this shot and this moment just kind of opened my eyes to a different world, a different way to use my creativity, to use the skills that I've learned and be able to do more with it than just sitting here talking to a camera about the newest gear that just came out. Like, there's so much more. And so it's not about perfection, but it's about presence and being aware. Because when the opportunity arises and you're handed the shot, you're ready to take it. So if you liked this story from behind the shot, this could become a series on this channel where I dig into, different stories from shots that I've captured, or even it's, going out to try and capture a specific shot and telling the story and the process to get there. Let me know down in the comments if that's something that you'd want to see more of, if you like this style of video, you like these kind of stories, and you like seeing a little bit behind the lens on my process and the way that I think when it comes to actually going out there and capturing some of this footage. And then a couple more things before you go. Oftentimes we wrap up these videos to just chop it to try and get the algorithm to push it out to more people and have you go to the next video right here. But I'm trying to slow down my content a bit and not be so YouTube-y. And part of that is just creating more of a community here. So I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments. Let me know. Tell me some of your stories. I'll try to be down there in the comments responding to as many people as possible and keeping this conversation going. Now, if you're someone who wants to work on one of these sewn films, you can. And so we're looking for more filmmakers to join us. And so how it works is basically we send filmmakers out to make these nonprofit films. And we're really trying to ramp up and get more filmmakers out there. And so I'll put a link down below in the description to where you can check out more about Sewn, more about our mission, more about what we're doing. And if it aligns with you and you want to work on one of these projects, there's opportunities to not only go out there and make one of these films, but also shoot the behind the scenes, because these films are oftentimes used for the nonprofit to be able to go out and generate fundraising. So it's a great tool for them. But to bring more awareness to what's going on with these different projects that we're working on and reach a broader audience, we partner with different creators out there who create behind the scenes and make videos here on YouTube and spread what Sewn is doing and spread what these organizations are doing. And so it's pretty cool because we often pair a filmmaker with a behind the scenes person and they work in tandem to shoot both pieces of content. But even if you're not someone who's fully documentary focused and you just want to go in one of these experiences and help shoot the behind the scenes, there's opportunities for you. Now, next, you should check out this video right here. It's the last video I did where I discuss kind of my thoughts about the state of YouTube and why I've been changing the way I'm going to be operating this channel. So I'll see you over there.